or Obito or Shisui or whatever. So it seems like this is pretty much a unique ability for Kakashi, even though he is not an Uchiha and shouldn't be the most powerful at using the Sharingan.
We even saw Sasuke copy a couple jutsus, if I'm not mistaken.
Where you at, Berto?
Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be reacting to a very interesting topic. Why the Sharingan stopped copying jutsus. And I feel like they kind of just did a magical wave over the whole concept of it. So today, Daigo Knight is going to be breaking it down, and let's see if we agree with him if it's facts or cap. Let's do it.
Kakashi received his famous nickname, Kakashi the Copy Ninja, because he managed to copy over 1,000 jutsus with Obito's Sharingan over his ninja career. We know he already had this nickname in the Land of Waves arc, so obviously it happened before the series even started. We see time and time again Kakashi using the Sharingan to copy other abilities, and Sasuke as well, in Naruto Part 1. Because if you think about it, when we go to Naruto Shippuden after the time skip, this ability of the Sharingan, which came in very useful several times in Part 1, was pretty much forgotten, and Kakashi just stopped using it. So the copy ninja was not copying anymore. And in this video I'd like to explore why that's the case, both in and out of universe. The first thing we have to take into account is that Kakashi doesn't have a lot of fights in Naruto Part 1. It may not look like that, but serious fights, he doesn't have that many. I mean, sure, he had the fight in the bell test, which I guess you could say he used the Earth-style headhunter jutsu to essentially bury Sasuke on the ground. That's ought to be a copy jutsu. He also used the substitution jutsu, but that's the type of jutsu he just learned in the academy before Kakashi even got the Sharingan, so it's not something he would have copied per se. But then when we move on to the Land of Waves arc, and Zabuza shows up, he even acknowledges Kakashi as being this famous ninja for copying jutsus. And Sasuke was also surprised to see Kakashi had a Sharingan the eye from his own clan. So naturally, because this is Kakashi's first real fight that we get to watch in the series against an opponent of his caliber, it makes a lot of sense to show how Kakashi fights usually. And it also makes a lot of sense to introduce the mechanic of the Sharingan copying other jutsus. This is exactly what...
We even saw Sasuke copy a couple jutsus, if I'm not mistaken. I think, didn't he copy Lee's taijutsu in one of the exams?
The fight does. The first fight between Kakashi and Zabuza, at least. That's the first Jonin level fight we see in the series. And Kakashi copies several jutsus from Zabuza. He copies the water clone, the water style dragon in that very iconic scene of the two water dragons.
And this is where I was talking about the chakra natures, because is Kakashi even a water chakra nature? Is that even a thing for Kakashi? How was he able to copy this jutsu? I feel like technically he shouldn't have been able to do it. Or was Kakashi one of those ones that was able to kind of do everything? No, because then what's that one from the Akatsuki? It starts with a K, and he had all the different chakra natures. They were making such a big deal out of it because not a lot of people were able to do all the chakra natures. Am I confused about something, chat? Let me know.
Dragons clashing against each other, and he copies the Great Water Vortex, which is the jutsu he uses to defeat Zabuza and flood the entire forest with. He also casts a genjutsu on Zabuza before Zabuza can unleash his own jutsu against Kakashi, his own Water Vortex, because they were weaving hand signs at the same time, and because Zabuza was distracted with Kakashi's genjutsu, he was able to finish the jutsu, and Kakashi just used it before he could. We could see that when they clashed the Water Dragons, they were pretty much evenly matched, which is pretty insane.
This was a legendary fight,
Zabuza
bro.
is a water-style specialist coming from the Mist Village and all. Kakashi, on the other hand, is a lightning-style specialist. We see that in Naruto Shippuden when he uses the paper that tells you what type of chakra you have, and Kakashi even showed it to Naruto. Yeah, look at my paper. It gets all wrinkled when I fuse it with chakra, meaning that my affinity is to lightning style. And he was matching Zabuza's strength in water style without having an affinity to it, meaning that Kakashi is extremely powerful. Now for the second fight between Kakashi...
Maybe I have something confused. Maybe it's not that they're not able to use other chakra styles. It's just that they're not as powerful because that's not within their nature. Maybe I'm confused, but somebody clear that up in the comments for me.
In Zabuza, Kishimoto does something pretty clever. Instead of showing Kakashi copying jutsus with the Sharingan, he shows how Zabuza counters the Sharingan by using the mists, and then he introduces Kakashi's signature ability in the Raikiri, probably the coolest jutsu in the series. He also shows Kakashi is capable of summoning ninja dogs, and it states that Kakashi is not a one-trick pony. He just doesn't copy shinobis that he encounters. He has his own jutsus. This doesn't mean the ability went away in Naruto Part 1, much in the contrary. Kakashi also had the fight against Demon Brothers, but he one-shotted both of them at the same time with just a grapple attack. So he didn't have to use a jutsu, he didn't even have to use a Sharingan. After the Land of Waves, however, we see that Sasuke learns to use the same ability Kakashi was using to copy jutsus because he copies Rock Lee's signature movements. First, he just copies and improvises Rock Lee's his kick when he's fighting against Yoro in the preliminaries of the Chunin exams, but then Kakashi takes advantage of that and teaches Sasuke Rock Lee speed because he managed to copy his taijutsu ability, which was very useful in the fight against Gaara in the arena, and also just as a whole because Sasuke gets much faster. However, that's literally the only time Sasuke uses this ability in canon. He no longer copies jutsu.
Which, I mean, Sasuke is already pretty overpowered, so I get why they probably nerfed that, which they just kind of seems to be a thing in anime overall, right? It's like they get all these crazy techniques and then they just for conveniently almost forget about them in certain situations. It's kind of crazy.
And that was already a symptom that this ability of the Sharingan would be forgotten, because Sasuke should be much more proficient than Kakashi with the Sharingan eventually, at least, because he is an original Uchiha with his original eyes. We also do not see other Uchihas doing the same that Kakashi does. Itachi never really copies an ability, as far as we know, maybe.
The only thing I can argue is, like, at this point in the series, motherfuckers are just so powerful that they don't necessarily need to copy. It's kind of like I have my own jutsus that are just way more efficient for me to use rather than copying your weak ass shit. So, you know, that could be a thing.
Maybe he copied a couple of those water style jutsus, but we don't see him copying on screen as Kakashi does several times, and we don't see Madara or Obito or Shisui or whatever. So it seems like this is pretty much a unique ability for Kakashi, even though he is not an Uchiha and shouldn't be the most powerful at using the Sharingan. And the funny thing is, Sharingan literally means copying wheel eye. So it was ingrained in the name that the jutsu is supposed to.
So that just means at some point Kishimoto, the creator, just like wanted this to go in that direction, but then he started to realize, I can't hold on to this anymore.
To copy other jutsus. So somehow Kakashi is the only one who does it, even though he's not an original user. When we move on into the Chunin exams, Kakashi has a couple of fights, if you can even call them that, because
honestly, now that I think about it, it's possible that the Sharingan was created exclusively for Kakashi, and then later down the line he doubled back and said, actually, no, we need to make the Sharingan a Uchiha thing. That's probably what ended up happening when you really think about it.
It's just Kakashi and Gaia against a mob of sound ninjas that are not particularly powerful. Kakashi and Gaia taking them down. Kakashi didn't even use a Sharingan, and he was using kunais only and taijutsu, so he wasn't using jutsus because they weren't really powerful. After the Chunin exams, we see Kakashi using the copying ability of the Sharingan again when he fights against Kisame and Itachi, and he arrives to the battlefield by matching Kisame's water shark shockwave jutsu, and the jutsus cancel each other out. So Kakashi managed to cancel a water dragon from Zabuza, a water style specialist, and a shark bomb from Kisame, a water style specialist and the strongest water style user of the whole series. Clearly, the ability to copy other jutsus is extremely useful. Also, the shot that Kakashi copies Kisame's ability is really cool in the 2-page spread, and Kakashi also uses the water clone in the same fight, even though the fight ends kind of quickly. Kakashi also uses the water barrier to block Itachi's own water style jutsu. And then
damn,
Itachi
I might rewatch that fight.
Fight ends. This is pretty much the last real fight Kakashi participates in Naruto Part 1. Now, when we see Kakashi's flashback with Obito, he obviously wouldn't be able to copy any abilities because he didn't have the Sharingan for most of it. He only gets in the very final stages of that arc. But moving on to Naruto Shippuden, this scene is not in the manga, but in the second bell test, Kakashi actually uses the water dragon that he copied from Zabuza, and also the fireball jutsu, which I guess he could have copied from somebody he saw fighting before, because even though we never see Kakashi literally copying the jutsu on page or on screen, a lot of people from the Leaf Village have access to the fireball jutsu. Sasuke even used it against Kakashi, even though Kakashi didn't have his Sharingan out at the moment to copy it. But Kakashi went on hundreds of missions, some missions even with Itachi, who is famous for using the fireball jutsu, so yeah, he copied it somehow. Kakashi also uses the hiding and miss jutsu in the fight against Itachi's body double to cover his Sharingan, just like Zabuza used it against him back in the Land of Waves, which was really cool. And we also see Kakashi using the Rasengan.
This nigga Kakashi using every motherfucking nature of chakra, bro.
On which he copied from Minato. And yes, Kakashi copied the Rasengan. Minato did not teach him the Rasengan. People that say that Kakashi trying to infuse lightning into the Rasengan and that it collapses to the Chidori are completely wrong, and they're just interpreting the story incorrectly and what Kakashi says in that scene. Bottom line is that Kakashi copies the Rasengan, even though he never really uses it for real combat. He only used it to clash against Naruto's Wind Cell Rasengan to see if the Rasengan that Naruto produced would be more powerful because the added element, and it was. We also see Kakashi using Earth-style Mud Wall several times in Naruto Shippuden, and this seems to be the final jutsu that he used that he copied from anyone. Because other than those jutsus, he uses Kamui, which I guess you could say he quote-unquote copied from Obito because he is using Obito's Mangekyo for that, but he's using it himself, and Obito never really developed the long-distance Kamui like Kakashi did, so it's a copy, but not really. It's definitely not the same thing as copying an ability with the Sharingan and using it for yourself. He uses Raikiri and its variants, which is heavily implied were also invented by Kakashi himself, just like Sasuke invented variants of the Chidori and Chidori Spear, Needle, and also Chidori Stream. Kakashi's variants were the Lightning Hound and Lightning Cable, but in Naruto Shippuden, we never see another scene of Kakashi copying a jutsu, or even Kakashi just copying something and using it against the person that's using it, like he used it against Kisame and Zabuza, and making that powerful, cool-looking clash. It never happens again in Naruto Shippuden, and he just never really uses the ability again. And it feels like Kakashi only has the same 4 jutsus in his arsenal: Kamui, Raikiri, Earth Wall, and something else.
That's kind of true, bro.
His dogs from time to time. But what happened to the 1,000 jutsus Kakashi copied over his career? Because think about it, Kakashi is so much fun to write. The guy has 1,000 jutsus. You can make up anything.
Honestly, facts. If you are using Kakashi, bro, at this point, he needs to be just spent. Every time we see Kakashi battle, he should be using a new jutsu, honestly.
Of sense, and nobody's going to complain because the justification is already there. Kakashi copied this jutsu a long time ago. It's writing on easy mode, and you have the perfect excuse to say, yeah, Kakashi knows this jutsu, he just copied it, man. And yet, this never happened. We never get the sense that Kakashi...
Facts, bro. Honestly, that was a missed opportunity. I feel like Kakashi literally could have been the hack to where anytime he's on page or on screen fighting anyone, he should just be using random jutsus that we've never seen before, with the only one being semi-consistent is his lightning blade. Honestly, bro.
Is the copy ninja in Naruto Shippuden, so much so that remember when Kakashi got the dual Mangekyo Sharingan in the end of the war arc, and Obito was quote-unquote talking to him via ethereal plane or something, and he says, remember your nickname, Kakashi of the Sharingan. Wait a minute, that was not Kakashi's nickname. His nickname was the copy ninja, not Kakashi of the Sharingan.
Yeah, looks like he just tried to pack up that whole concept, bro.
So Kishimoto kind of had to change his nickname on the go because he just wasn't copying jutsus anymore. So the moment wouldn't hit as powerfully because Kakashi is no longer the copy ninja, I suppose. I mean, he copied jutsus before, but he's not doing that anymore. And I guess it also makes sense because Kakashi is not going to copy jutsus with a dual Mangekyo Sharingan anyway. He's going to use all those hacks abilities that he got access to. I know Kakashi has been called Kakashi of the Sharingan before this moment, but copy ninja is just a better nickname. It's more unique to Kakashi because there are several Uchihas with the Sharingan, so Kakashi of the Sharingan doesn't seem as special, but copy ninja, it's his speciality, so yeah, that's his nickname, right? I guess you can make the argument that, oh, he's so good with the Sharingan even though he's not an Uchiha, that's why he gains the nickname Kakashi of the Sharingan, and he works for the DMS reveal, but still, copy ninja is just a better and more iconic nickname. But why would Kakashi choose not to copy abilities anymore in universe? First, let's answer that. After Kakashi acquired Kamui, he acquired an extremely powerful ability that's much more potent than any other ranged jutsu Kakashi may possibly have ever copied. It's a jutsu that you can use to attack, as we see with Deidara, and to defend, as we see with Pain, for example, when he tossed that nail towards Kakashi's face. You can use that to just suck things in and suck things out. We see Kakashi using that to toss a tail of the 8 tails out of his Kamui dimension, and then the 8 tails runs out of the tail to attack the 10 tails from above. And let's face it, Kakashi is mostly fighting against extremely powerful opponents, and most of the opponents he's fighting against in Naruto Shippuden are the type of opponents that he cannot copy abilities from. He cannot copy Shinra Tensei and Bancho Tenin from Tendo Pain. He cannot copy Obito's Kamui abilities or Rinnegan abilities when he fights against him in the war arc. He cannot copy Deidara's special clay jutsu that explodes, that's explosion style like KK Genkai, which Kakashi cannot copy. He cannot copy Sasuke's Susanoo either because he had a brief fight against Sasuke. And in fights such as Kakashi versus Itachi's body double, he wouldn't use fire style against Itachi. I mean, I guess he could try to do that and cancel out a fireball or something, but Itachi being one of the most proficient users of the Sharingan, Kakashi would know not to do something like that against him because Itachi would know what to expect. It's not like he could catch Itachi off guard like he caught Zabuza back in the day with a genjutsu and using his own jutsu before he could do so.
Makes
Now,
sense.
I guess he could have copied a few jutsus from Kakuzu. After all, the guy had just elemental style jutsus, powerful jutsus at that, but they were simple element style jutsus. The most useful jutsu for Kakashi to copy out of Kakuzu would have been Kakuzu's diamond skin defense, which actually was pretty darn tanky. Kakashi had to use Raikiri's lightning style elemental advantage against Kakuzu's earth style skin in order to pierce it. That would be an ability that Kakashi could have copied and be useful in the future because he takes several slashing attacks, especially in the war arc. Even against Tendo Pain, that ability could have been very useful. Sure, maybe it wouldn't be as powerful as Kakuzu's version because it's a copy, but Kakashi is known for using one very specific earth style jutsu, and it is for defense, Mud Wall. So why wouldn't he try to copy another jutsu that's an earth style jutsu for defense when he was literally staring at that jutsu? Kakashi makes
That's
it
kind of funny. This is a very obvious panel that he's staring at that motherfucker.
very clear that he stared at Kakuzu weaving hand signs to do that jutsu, and that's how he understood, oh, this is an earth style jutsu, my Raikiri will be effective against it, and he was looking at Kakuzu while he did the jutsu. In my rewriting Naruto series, I actually gave Kakashi this ability that he copies from Kakuzu, the stone skin, and I also gave Kakashi a couple of fights where he uses several wacky jutsus that he copied in the past to make some justice to his nickname, the Copy Ninja. But okay, maybe Kakashi couldn't have copied most of the jutsus the opponents used against him in Naruto Shippuden, which is fair. He's fighting against very exotic opponents, not your average ninja. The Akatsuki members are all freaks. But why wouldn't he use some copy jutsus from the past? Well, he technically does. The Shadow Clone Jutsu, Hiding in the Mist Jutsu, Mud Wall, and that's pretty much it, to be honest. Like, 3 copy jutsus is not a lot out of his 1,000 jutsu arsenal. So yeah, it could have definitely been more, but there's also the justification that Kakashi's Kamui was just more useful against those opponents, even though it really tired him out.
That's kind of what I said earlier. I feel like the series did get to a point where they were fighting people that are just so overpowered. It was kind of like, I could try to copy some shit, but I just need to use a way more useful jutsu, honestly.
Out and could also lead to blindness. It's just such a powerful jutsu that it kind of eclipses anything else that Kakashi would have. Although it would have been really cool to see Kakashi using something like a sealing jutsu to seal Edo Tensei in the work, because out of the 1,000 jutsus he copied, and telling me he didn't copy a single sealing jutsu, I doubt that. Instead, we saw just fodder ninjas sealing the Edo Tensei with tags. Not the most creative thing, but okay. You could make the argument Kakashi was saving his own chakra and just letting the more fodder ninjas seal the Edo Tensei because he didn't have to do that himself, and because Kakashi doesn't have the most vastest chakra pool in the verse, he would want to conserve as much chakra as he could in the war. And I suppose these in-universe explanations make sense, but they're certainly not satisfactory because I'm pretty sure most people would have wanted Kakashi to use several cool jutsus that he copied in the past, and also maybe even copy some jutsus from other people in Naruto Shippuden itself. And I bet some other people would also want to see other Uchihas, because we get several Uchihas in Naruto Shippuden using the ability to copy other abilities with the Sharingan.
It's weird though, because even though we all know all these people have Sharingans, I do feel like we only cared about the copying factor from Kakashi.
And not just Sasuke in part 1 copying Rock Lee's taijutsu movements. So why did Kishimoto pretty much phase that ability out of the writing? It wasn't overpowered, that was not the reason. You could not copy KK Genkai abilities with the Sharingan, and if there's an ability that Kishimoto just doesn't want to be copied, you can just say, oh, this one, the Sharingan can't copy, it's too difficult. Like the Rasen Shuriken, like, say, Healing Ninjutsu, like Haku's Needles, like Data's Claybirds. So it's very easy to impose a limitation. It wouldn't break the verse whatsoever, it would just make Kakashi more powerful, and making him more powerful wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. The thing is, Kakashi loses a lot of fights in the series. He loses to Pain, he kinda loses to Datara, he eventually beats Obito, but it's because Obito let him win so that Kakashi could remove the seal in Obito's heart. But you could still make him more powerful and cooler using those abilities, even if you needed him to lose more fights. So why did they stop copying abilities? Well, I guess you could use the word retcon, but not really. It has to do with Kishimoto's ever-changing ideas for the Naruto series. The Sharingan and its abilities were introduced in the first arc of the series. Now, the precognition ability remained in the Sharingan and didn't can leave, but that's an ability very easy to adapt in any fight. You can just say, oh, the character is really fast, and if the character gets hit with a sharingan, you can just say, oh, the other character was really fast. So it's not hard to write at all. But if you had to write a character copying somebody else's ability every time there's a sharingan user on screen, things would get a little tiresome, especially in Naruto Shippuden where there's so many sharingan users. And because we get the Mangekyo abilities in Naruto Shippuden, we just get so much more variety for the sharingan itself. I mean, we got the abilities in Naruto Part 1 with Itachi, but then we got way more in Naruto Shippuden, and we can clearly see that those abilities are much more impactful.
Yeah, I just remember back in like Part 1 Naruto, I thought like Itachi's Mangekyo abilities, I thought that was something that anyone with a Sharingan was going to be able to obtain at some point.
And powerful than most abilities you can ever copy. So yeah, Sharingan users will favor their Mangekyo abilities if they have a Mangekyo, obviously. And at the level of power that most Uchiha characters were in Naruto Shippuden, even the weakest ones like Hebi Sasuke, even though he's one of the strongest characters in the verse that we know of when he's introduced, he's still much weaker than somebody like Obito in the Work or even Rinnegan Sasuke. Copying abilities for those guys are not gonna be the most impactful thing ever. They mostly have the same problem Kakashi has of facing very unique opponents that he can't copy anyway, and in terms of writing and storytelling, it's just more interesting and cooler to see the Mangekyo Sharingan abilities. Even for Kakashi's case with Kamui, this is clearly foreshadowing the appearance of Obito when we see Tobi phasing through stuff, and if you are smart, you can put 2 and 2 together and say, oh, wait, Kakashi's Kamui and this Tobi's guy, you know, phasing through stuff, it could be similar somehow, and we build up that connection between Kakashi and Obito. And also, Raikiri is the ability Kakashi created, therefore it's the ability he's most comfortable with, and because Kakashi's story in Naruto Shippuden is very much connected to Obito, it makes sense for Kakashi to use Raikiri, the jutsu Obito allowed him to complete after he gave him the Sharingan. It just makes thematic sense. And the Chidori slash Raikiri also became one of the staple abilities of the series, extremely iconic. You have to agree with me that it would be kind of comic if we saw Madara using the perfect Susanoo wood style and all those crazy meteor things, copying a very basic water style jutsu. That would just make no sense whatsoever. Like, why would he even try that? The same thing applies for Sasuke when he gets the Mangekyo and the Materasu and everything, as well as Itachi with all his abilities and the Mangekyo and the Susanoo Yara Mirror Totsuka Blade, and Obito with Kamui, because Obito's Kamui is pretty much an ability that gives him everything, and when Obito is phasing through stuff, he cannot use other jutsus anyway, so it just makes sense he wouldn't even need to copy other stuff because he can't really use them very often. And then you could say, well, sure, you don't have to give all these Uchihas the ability to copy things every time because they use more stuff. But Kakashi was known for it, right? He was the copy ninja. You should have at least give it to him. Maintain the character as he was, and I agree with that sentiment. I think it would have been much more interesting if Kakashi kept on copying abilities. But you also have to think about this. It doesn't make that much sense that the character that's not an Uchiha is doing more stuff with a Sharingan than the Uchiha characters. Like, what, they forgot about that ability of the Sharingan even though they are natural Uchihas? And then at the end of the series, Kakashi gets to Mangekyo and he starts to use the perfect Susanoo, Kamui, Raikiri, Kamui, Shuriken. He's all hacks. Yeah, I don't see him even needing to copy an ability at that point. And even War Kakashi pre-DMS was already extremely powerful with more chakra, with more Kamui proficiency. And because he was fighting against Obito, Kamui was literally the best counter against him anyway. The thing is that the direction that the Sharingan went was probably much different from the initial intent Kishimoto had with the ability. And I honestly prefer this way because having abilities like Amaterasu, Tsukiyomi, Kamui, Susanoo
is so much more fire.
It's just much more interesting than characters just copying other characters' abilities. And we see that Kishimoto already had that in mind in part 1 when he introduced Itachi and he had Tsukiyomi and Amaterasu, and also when we see Itachi awakening the Mangekyo in the flashback in Naruto part 1. So Kishimoto made his mind relatively early on.
Yeah, I'm capped out. That nigga Kishimoto know what the hell he was doing since day one.
On that he didn't want the Sharingan to just be the ability to copy other abilities and also precognition. He wanted it to be a little bit cooler than that. That's why he introduced Itachi with all those crazy abilities. Having said that, you could have still introduced the Mangekyo Sharingan abilities and still kept the copying ability of the Sharingan. It's a shame it didn't happen. Now, if you want to watch a fight where Kakashi uses several abilities that he copied, watch this fight here.
Word. Hey, W video. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on the matter. Again, I feel like it still would have been cool to use Kakashi just as an excuse to just kind of throw some random jutsus out there, because we wouldn't have questioned it. You know, if a new character was introduced and they started doing like a brand new style of techniques, we'd probably be like, what the fuck? What clan are they from? What do they got going on? But if Kakashi was just out here spamming random jutsus, we would just assume, oh, he must have just learned that somewhere along the way, copying some ninja from some mission. It wouldn't have thought too much about it. So I thought it probably would have been cool to keep seeing it. But let me know what you guys think. My name is Berto. Make sure you subscribe to this channel and all my other channels. The links are in the description. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Where you at, Berto?